Order at 6:01. Let me get ready for people here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi,
Barbara.
yeah. So can I
Did this.
can't hear you.
Is this in place? Okay. Does anybody have one of those cell phone extenders that we could use to move the mic around? No? Well, we'll just do the best we can.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right. So can we have I'd like to begin with the, roll call.
Aaron. Stuart.
Here.
Winifred.
Here,
Sam.
Here.
Yasmin.
okay. And I'd like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So for announcements, I want to thank Lucas Strum, who is finishing his internship here with the village now, and we are grateful for your help and support during the summer.
Thank you, Lucas. Thank you.
Right. I have a few more announcements, which is not news. Michael said,
I have a few more announcements, which is not news, but is worth repeating. As you may know, the EV charger has gone into service in the village parking lot, and we have been seeing people charging at that location, and so we're really pleased that people are using that to park and use the facility and browse the village. As you know, the bridge has been delivered and is in the process of being set in this next week, and final approaches will be managed. And subsequent to that, the management of the Harriet Grossman property to remove that. So we don't have a date for completion of this project, so we're not in a position to do a ribbon cutting until we have a better idea when the bridge will be in service. But we may need some help with that effort. A simple ribbon cutting and maybe some promotion. Okay, moving on to reports. We have received the wastewater treatment plant monthly reports, and any comments regarding the wastewater treatment plant water reports?
I just want to read what they had wrote. This time, the wastewater facilities running on a low rate of flow. Charges from the plant for every day of the week. The operators continue to monitor the pump station and collection system on a daily basis. Cedarwood environmental staff have clocked a total of 412 man hours for the month of July, and that equates to about 2.5 people out of the 3 people that we have there. There were also 12 alarms that were called for the month of July. And they continue to do flushing of the collection system that helps possible blockages and overflows. Also, they're now cleaning the Depot Street pump station on a daily basis to avoid larger problems at night calls if possible. This seems to be helping less pump station alarms during the week and on the weekends.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart. That has 12 alarms is a greatly reduced number compared to prior summers because of the accumulation of wipes and other debris in the system, and their efforts to mitigate that problem by daily cleaning of wipes from the pumps, flushing of the system seems to have been productive, but it's extremely labor intensive, and we're looking for other solutions, which you'll hear about little bit later. Motion to accept the wastewater treatment and water reports. We have Yasmin, second, Aaron, all in favor? Aye, right, carried. The code enforcement monthly reports, we have some activity this summer, but not an extensive amount of building or permits being issued. And everything seems to be moving forward with progress on those with open permits and no significant issues. Motion to accept the permit reports.
Motion to accept.
Stuart, Aaron, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. The financial report for July 31, 2022 was circulated. Any comments or questions? Report. I want to report on and get approval on the purchase orders, which everyone. In lieu of circulating all of the purchase orders, we have a list of Cobleskill for the paving of Halcott and Breezy Hill for $47,277.81. The initial payment for Lake Street retrofit work that's in progress, $82,686. Dan Septic, which is sludge removal, $1,440. The fire department to reimburse their education classes for $3,000. Hack for equipment for the wastewater treatment plant for $3,074. Phoenix Environmental for wastewater testing of $1,401. Slack Chemicals for the wastewater treatment plant of $2,592, and Swim King for the purchase of a pump, a replacement pump for the swimming pool for $1,650. Motion to accept the purchase orders. Any questions?
I second that.
Okay. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. So going to all business. All right. Sam, how are we doing with the pool?
I think we're doing great. We've been open, we opened July 30th, and as expected, it was a slow progress. People start, learning about the pool. Few people on Saturday, few people on Sunday, and then as it progressed, people started to come more and more to the pool. So yesterday, Sunday, and the day before Saturday, we had great attendance on both days. So as today we have almost 30 people. So I guess people like it. It's water, and it's still it was a long process, and unfortunately, I wish we would have more time, but we're going to enjoy these 3 weeks that we have left. And basically, that's it.
It was a real long time coming, and Sam, I want to thank you. You were able to acquire 3 lifeguards, which allows us to be open 7 days a week, all day, and it's a better process than other swimming locations in the area. So I want to thank you, Sam, for making that happen.
Thank you.
So moving on to the next item, is there an update on the plans for installing crosswalks?
Yes, so we met this month with engineer from Delaware County. to review all the possibilities of crosswalks within the village. And he narrowed it down to a few locations, and the village will continue the effort to spray paint those crosswalks in.
It's not as simple as we had originally anticipated, as engineering studies are typically done to prevent liability on the part of the village. We've gotten the counsel of the representatives of the Department of Transportation so that we are in a good position to prevent any liability, as if we put crosswalks in improperly, it exposes the village to liabilities. So we're feeling really good about getting all the ducks in a row to move forward with that plan.
Where are the crosswalks located?
Thank you, sir.
We'll address that at the end of the meeting. Village signs, is there?
Yes, the village signs, the traffic signs are a vital aspect of traffic safety for our village. The larger number of liability lawsuits related to the condition and the placement of traffic signs emphasizes the importance of good sign management program. All signs will eventually need to be replaced, even the best ones. Post and sign assemblies may fail as a result of vehicular damage, vandalism, fading, or wind damage. Proper sign management will allow us to maintain the signs in a reasonable standard for the care of the roadways, and will assist us in protecting the village against potential liability. Maintaining a good inventory of the standing signs. I started by locating all the signs in the village, and I've come up with a 15-page document that I presented to the village this last month. It lists all the signs in the village laid out by street, the location, the direction it's facing, the date of installation, the material that the sheet is made out of, the backing, the post type, and the condition of the sign. There's one other thing that we have. I got a letter back from the New York State DOT from Region 8, Poughkeepsie. They wrote us a letter and they let us know that they will be installing 2 signs. We requested more, but they're going to be installing 2 on Route 49A in Ulster County. It's the road that comes out of Bel Air Mountain. So those 2 signs will be right before Route 28. One, the top sign will say Fleischman's with a left arrow, and a sign below it will say Pine Hill with a right arrow. That will be done this construction season ahead of Bel Air opening for this season.
Wow.
That's as people depart from Bel Air, coming down the Bel Air.
Before they hit 28, they're going to see us or know that we're up to the left.
To the left for Fleischman's. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. This is a continuing item, but I believe we don't have any reports on progress on the research and development of a garbage law. Am I correct? We have nothing to report there. Okay, the next, I want to report on, let's see, our fundraising initiatives. In this last month, 2 major proposals have been submitted. We have submitted with the assistance of Cedarwood, our issues regarding the wastewater treatment plant are continuing, and we are have applied through the CFA, the consolidated funding application to the environmental planning group for a study that will improve the function of the collection system by replacing standard pumps and chopping pumps to help mitigate the clogging of the system due to rags and other materials that have been deposited in the system. The effort is to upgrade the collection system to prevent the sanitary sewage overflows and less disruption of the service due to maintenance. It's a continuing problem, and we applied for a planning grant, which is typically the approach to getting a construction grant. Planning grant often precedes the opportunity to seek the funding. So we're looking for a $24,000 planning grant, which would be, if we're successful, will be undertaken in December of 2022 for submission in the next round, beginning July, with a consolidated funding application for a construction of an upgrade to our system should we be successful. So that's one initiative in our infrastructure. The other is what we've been talking about regarding the Restore New York program, which opened up in the beginning of July, and it allows the village to be a lead agency for economic development to foster the renovation and reconstruction of abandoned, unoccupied properties, some of which might be blight related in the village, but for the purpose of creating workforce housing. So that's the focus of this grant. It would be either workforce housing or commercial development. So it's this the village as a lead agency would select 5 properties within the village with an intent to apply for full funding for those properties. We started with a list of 15 properties in the village, which were suitable to be considered. And we are focusing on trying to identify 5 of the 13 for this round of applications that would be somewhat contiguous and most likely on Main Street in the most highly visible and appropriate properties to be considered for this purpose. So that is that's in the works, and it's being submitted this week as an intent to apply. So we have not yet selected the 5 properties, and we don't have to name the 5 properties at this point, but working in consultation with the Mark Project, helping to shape the highest probability of success. So we're moving in that direction.
Examples of how to use.
Can you hold the question till the public comment section, and we can review that? So, is there anything else to report on fundraising? Anything else? No. Okay. All right. Okay, so next on the agenda, with regard to, the Restore New York, once we have settled on the properties and submitted an application, we will need to have a public hearing to fully vet with the public which properties we are considering. So I want to set in motion a public hearing for our next meeting in September. In the event we need to, we'd be ready to present the properties and to take comments from the public. So to that end, can I have a motion to schedule a public hearing for the Restore New York program for 6 o'clock September. What is the date of our September meeting? September 12th, the Monday, September 12th. So can I have a motion to schedule said meeting?
I make a motion to schedule that restore meeting.
Right. Should we be in a position to move forward with it? And second by Sam, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, so the next item is more of a think piece. I'm going to put this up here. We've been talking with about public spaces, and we've adopted a role as the development of public spaces. And we've enlisted the assistance of Ann Hirsch, who is sitting here with great expertise in this area. So we are talking about developing a master plan for our public spaces. Given the economic explosion in the village in the last 2 or 3 years, with a lot of investment in the village, businesses opening, and activity, greater presence of people seeking the village as a destination location, we are beginning to have a vision of of what our public spaces can look like as part of the village overall vision. We're talking about a goal to connect, beautify, and enhance and sustain the 17 public spaces that we have in the village. And we've kind of identified the public spaces here, which I will go into in a minute. But the purpose of this concept is to promote civic engagement and to develop a greater sense of ownership on the part of the public spaces, because we all access them, we all walk, we all drive throughout the community, and given the additional resources that are just coming online right now, the pool, the bridge, those also kind of extend some of the recent successes we have with other public spaces, which include the kiosk at the entrance to the village, the pollinator garden at Depot Street, all of which are destination places, but can benefit for some enhancement and greater participation by the public in the support of those, in the volunteer efforts around those, and kind of the sense of ownership and protection of those spaces. Because we always, as we develop our public spaces, more activity, we need to be more vigilant about how they are being used. So the objective that we're moving towards is to identify all of these public spaces, to link them in a useful way for the enjoyment of the residents, of special groups, walkers, anglers, birders, other community groups, cyclists, skateboarders, drone users, a variety of users, and to have a way of envisioning the progress to the village, and also to help identify through a variety of means of signage, of QR codes, of making information about the village more readily accessible in the current technologies that we are beginning to understand. This kind of visioning kind of plays into the themes that we have in the village, which we have made great strides in being viewed as an art village with the arts and cultural activities that have emerged recently. We have themes of a recreational village, given our pool, our tennis courts, our soon-to-be pickleball courts, our soccer, our baseball, and other activities around the park, the community gardens. So we have themes, and one of the themes that we are considering with this is water access, because the village is here because of the confluence of the three streams in the valleys in this area. So that's a theme that is to be considered as we enhance these public spaces, consider the kinds of landscaping, the kinds of usage, the kinds of signage, and also the particular identities of these different spaces. Some are kind of wild, like the pollinator garden. Some are highly defined, like the kiosk. So the effort that I'd like to initiate with the community is, how can we build this connectivity? How can we build a sense of ownership and a sense of participation in these public spaces? And how can we provide more volunteer participation? More volunteer participation allows for more sense of ownership. So the development of these public spaces cannot be done solely by the work of our village crew. They are committed to street maintenance, safety, and health issues. So that's kind of the outline of this effort to develop a master plan, and we'd like to get some participation with this plan. And I'd also like to see if, Anne, you have any further comments to make, since you're a major initiator of this vision.
Thank you. I'll try to be brief, and we can have any occasions to chat. Essentially, I don't even like to me, the thing that is the most interesting about all of this, water runs through it. And Fleischman's wouldn't be here if it weren't for the water, because first of all, when it was named Corners, you had the water power. And then when Fleischman's came here, it was because his doctor told him, you need to be in a place where you can breathe clean air and have clean water at your access. We all understand the role the water plays. A man can only live for 3 days without water. You can go 21 days without food. The water is biblical in origin. And so we all understand that concept of cleanliness, and the fact that water runs through this village, and that people came to this village during COVID because it did represent cleanliness and fresh air and water. And so these public spaces, and I had no idea we had 17 public spaces in this town. All the time I had driven by the information kiosk, I only saw the parking lot. And it dawned on me, as someone who's worked a lot in public space in New York City, I founded an organization that, to help support Dag Hammarskjöld Plaza in front of the UN, which becomes very derelict. And it's now the pride of the community with a beautiful garden, the Pepper Garden. And it takes a lot of management, but that management has come out of the community. And we're a community here. We got a lot of bright people, a lot of motivated people. And I encourage you to just step in. I wrote a preliminary kind of conceptual thing because I've spent many years in public relations and also as a gardener. I got involved because of the pollinator garden. And then suddenly all these other places start popping up, you know, that I realized, wait, they should all be connected. And so that is the objective, to create a connectivity to them through walking tours, through, you know, we all count, or maybe you should, or maybe I should, count steps of, did you do, how many steps did you do today? So
there's a lot of different ways to play this, but each different place becomes an identity in itself, connected to another place. And then how we utilize those places, how we access those places, how we care for them.
Okay, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Um, So in new business, it's actually old business. I wanted to report on the septic proposal. If I've mentioned it in the past, we were looking at ways to generate more revenue out of our wastewater treatment plant so that it can support more upgrades. One strategy was to invite haulers to from outside of Fleischmann's to utilize the wastewater treatment plant as a location for them to offload the septic, consistent with the use of our wastewater treatment plant. In pursuing that a little bit further, that could have generated income for the village. It became apparent that the wastewater treatment plant being highly regulated by the New York City DEP, if they see us generating revenue, they will most likely reduce their level of support. So it became a strategy that seemed to be self-defeating. So we're not at this point going to pursue that any further. We have an executive session to discuss some foreclosure issues, procedures, but I'd like to bring the public comment period forward before that, so not to delay public comment period for our executive session. So I invite the public comment and would anyone like to speak? Yes. You want to comment on that?
We'd like to get as many as possible, and if the more work that we do on the roadway before we paint, the more we'll have. Yeah, we're starting this one at the bottom of Little Red Hill is our first one. They're furthest to the west.
Yeah.
And we also have one crosses at Lake Street. Those are two that we're going to push for, and then after that we have the one over there, Pilot Deli,
Yeah.
by Alcott. We're trying to cross there. But with all those places, we need to actually do physical work on the roadway to get it smooth enough, to get a wheelchair or a walker, somebody walking on a walker, it's gonna be flat enough. It's gotta be according to the New York State specifications.
So this has both the purposes of creating safe crossings, but it also has a potential for mitigating speeding cars. So it has a number of considerations. Gloria, Dan, and then Michelle.
What about lighting? You have crosswalks, but at night, there are a lot of people in the summer that are walking on the street and a lot of wearing black. And I almost ran over a little boy.
Okay, so you're making a recommendation?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So you're recommending that we install more street lighting?
For that, yes,
And
in
one more.
the summer, definitely.
Right. Other comments? Dan?
So with the, as you're saying, with the increased crosswalks, that's gonna help to slow down traffic. Is there any way to get more, the sheriff's presence? It's got the substation in, but I don't see the sheriff or, having much presence here. I do notice that, I was someone was driving and almost, swerved into me last week, and I was just wondering what kind of.
Okay, so you're recommending that we have more presence of the.
Yeah, you can contact the sheriff's office. I think there's a big under sheriff there now.
Okay.
Michelle?
A number of years ago, the crosswalks came up for discussion, and the crosswalk from the pool entrance to the ballpark was recommended. And in light of the fact that the pool is open and there are minors who are using the pool, I would hope that that is an area that we should be looking at as a priority. Furthermore, the parking is on the opposite side of the street, so there was technically an increase in people that are crossing there. And I'd like to ask that it be considered before Lake Street, before Little Red Hill. I think that there's much more liability with the children and the pool and the whatever else is going on in the park.
Carol and Brian, Carol, so then, yes, go ahead.
Further comment, just to continue on Gloria's recommendation about lighting, instead of like overhead street lighting, like if you notice on Broadway in Kingston, they have a lot of crosswalks and they'll have a button that you push and there's a sign that lights up that lets you know that someone is crossing Broadway. And then when they get to the other side, they push a button and it turns off. That's all.
You said you identified 15 properties. It's still in your program.
Yes.
I was wondering, you've actually selected 5. I was wondering if you could get a list of those properties. This will be as part of the public hearing, where the public can make comments on our selection of the properties. So right now we don't have the list. That is, Can we get it before the public hearing? It will be available in anticipation of the public hearing. Yes.
No, yes, yes.
Yeah, my question is actually also related to the store in my program. So first off, I did take a look at the application and apply application for having over here. And to me, the way that I read it is because you have to put the properties on there. So I don't know, are you sure that you don't need to? That's correct.
Right. We don't have to name the properties as part of the intent to apply. When we submit the final application, yes.
I mean, okay, all right, but do we actually know what the intent is going to be at this point?
That was my question.
I mean, you said, I know that it can be pursued.
We're taking comments and we're not really.
At this point, in a position to discuss
Can you
the
explain
nature.
what the usage might be of these properties?
As I stated,
Oh, yes, she said 2 or she said 1 for the usage of.
The intent of this proposal is to
develop workforce housing.
What does that mean?
it means to
Provide housing for people who want to be employed in this area.
we have
The rental housing stock has declined dramatically, and so it's difficult for businesses to hire people without any place for them to live. So it's an impediment to business development. So that is the focus of this particular, our participation in this program is to develop workforce housing.
You also said commercial use?
That's another strategy within this program that we are focusing on the workforce housing.
So we're not focused on the commercial use, only workforce housing for the 5 properties.
Do I have other comments? Alan, yes.
You should consider speed bumps to slow down the traffic.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I will just comment that the Department of Transportation and the county DPW recommend dramatically opposed to that because of the liability issues associated with that. We have explored that, and if you have other information, I'd be happy to.
I don't have other information, I just see it that it's very effective at slowing cars down. But what is the issue that they raise?
I'm not.
I'm accepting comments. You're recommending that we explore speed bumps. And so I will,
address that.
But you said that the Department of Transportation is opposed to that idea. I don't understand why.
Okay, so that's a question that,
I'm not going to discuss my conversations with the Department of Transportation in this evening.
I'm taking comments. And so you're free to explore that with the,
Department of Transportation, but we've been advised against it.
Gloria and then Jen.
I'm wondering if the water work finished on Lake Street, and if so, when will we taking place?
We don't have a date because we don't know when they're going to
Be
be,
finished with the construction work on Lake Street.
but they're scheduled to do it this summer. And then
We expect it before Labor Day, but
we do not have a date. We could have weather dependent and other factors. So we don't have a date for the paving.
Is there any way to rush that? Because for 2 years now, I've come.
any other comments?
Thank you. You mentioned commercial as well as workforce, and then just now you said that 5 properties would be for workforce. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. In previous meetings that we've had, public meetings, the public might have one consensus, but yet in several of them, it didn't matter. But the public wanted, the board made their choices. What's the purpose of the meeting?
To receive comments from the public.
And is it, do you make your decision based on the comments of the public or not?
The information that they have and with their best judgment.
So
The process of public input is
to provide public input,
our discussions. You're free to provide that input at any time. Marshall and.
I have another question also.
Just for clarification on the Lake Street repaving, is that, we have to, is the county highway 37 work have to be finished before they pave it?
No.
It's not contingent on that.
Yes, it's more about the work. So I'm a little bit on here just looking at the integration as to whether or not properties are going to remain privately owned, are they?
Yes.
And then is there some kind of that they will purpose for which they receive the funding?
Can you make that in terms of a recommendation?
Can we, or if that information can just be included before the public hearing, that would be great. As well as what the specific stipulations are as to how long it has to.
Michelle?
Janet.
Last year, we had a discussion in the public sections about village presenting itself as all inclusive and tolerant and feel good stuff like that. And we had discussed it in terms of the website. It has come to the attention of many people here that there have been unpleasant posters posted in the post office about 2 residents of the village that are anything but welcoming or inclusive or feel good, which is what we keep saying is the tradition of this village. I would like to make a recommendation that the language in our website and any printed material that we have reinforces the civility that we all require. It is untenable that anybody in this village would think it's appropriate to put up a document in a public space, a federal space, that essentially says that residents of this village should go back to the rock that they came out from. It's abhorrent. And I would like to go on record to say that we figure out a way to address this kind of behavior. It has now happened, I believe, 3 times
Right, so at the, right, so,
They make a recommendation that we go back to the website and reinforce.
As the beginning step for addressing what seems to be harassment and discriminatory behavior.
Any other comments? And
I want to speak to the use of the street for walking versus use of the sidewalk for walking. When I left the arts in the other night after the concert, my husband and I literally could not walk down that sidewalk because of the hedges coming out into the sidewalk. And so we just crossed, and for a while I walked in the street because it was easier than walking on the sidewalk. So your sidewalks have to be navigable, and a very easy step is to trim back hedges so that the whole sidewalk is available.
I agree with you. And I'm working with you on that as well. I've employed a shovel and a broom, and I started at Depot Street, and I'm cleaning the sidewalk on Wagner Avenue. From Depot Street, I'm gonna get to the bridge, so we have our pedestrian bridge. Everybody that owns property, please clean your sidewalk, the brush, so people can walk on the sidewalks. You are correct. We need that. There was about 3 or 4 feet of grass I removed from one candidate that was running for office as well. I cleaned up his sidewalk, of course. He preferred not to, but he thanked me.
Excuse me, but there's never any grass on my sidewalk, if that's who you're referring to me.
Yeah, you didn't put an application in. I'm talking about the person that put an application in to run. You did not, put an application in to run. You were not on the ballot.
Yeah.
You were not on the ballot. I'm not referring to you.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other
Right.
comments that
You had your
have not
opportunity.
been, any other comments that have not been presented to the, at this point? Yes, Christine, Lauren, and then Janet.
On where Greasy Hill and Old Houses come together, the stop sign is too far back from the street.
Yeah.
And the hedges there, speaking of hedges, there's a really beautiful, beautiful lilac bush. But it makes it impossible for anybody pulling out from there to see if anybody's cruising down Greasy Hill. And I've seen a lot of near misses there of both vehicles and pedestrians.
Everybody's driving too fast.
Yeah, they're going too fast when they come down Greasy Hill.
Gloria, did you have another comment? Are you making a comment? Yeah. Yes. It's still in private hands. Janet, and I think that's. Yes. Janet.
I wanted to know if, my request would be to put a sign, if it's possible, to have a sign for the electric charging station be added to the area where it is, and also if it's possible to get it added to where the Fleischman sign is at Bel Air, showing that there's an electric charging station at Fleischman's.
Thank you.
I have another thing.
May
May I?
Yes, I will go one at a time. No, this is, you have another comment?
Can I finish mine? Oh, okay. Yes, I can.
Okay, Janet, go ahead.
Thank you. Dan sounded angry just now. I think he's angry because we talked about if I walk in the street with my dog and I can't see, I have fear of the swerving car that has threatened many people. And I think Danny, we had talked about it yesterday, he was nervous and he was upset because it occurred to him. I think that there's an issue, and it feels like it's taking an action to drive people away or hurt them. And this is our village, and as you all mentioned, it's a nice friendly town. But if there's a car that's the same person who's consistently swerving,
Are you making a recommendation?
I'm making a recommendation that the board take action at recognizing all the different complaints that have been made to the police or to the sheriff about the swerving car. I'm afraid of getting hit by this swerving car being blind. I won't be able to move away. I don't want to get killed in fighting. So I don't know what my recommendation would be other than how do we take action to prevent it from continuously occurring?
Thank you.
Can you tell me?
We're taking under advisement.
Thank
We
you.
are not an enforcement agency. We rely upon the authorized enforcement agencies to take action. And so, but we will take this under advisement on how we can protect it. Anything else that hasn't been? Oh, it was
One
there.
other question. So at the last meeting, it was discussed, a fall festival, application for a fall festival, I believe, Jasmine. I'm thinking that I was wondering if that was happening or if
It is happening.
It's happening, okay. All right, great.
John,
Yeah, I just wanted to suggest that you think about a way to address people's questions. You know, for example, some way to provide information to the community in response to people's questions. For example, Alan asked for an explanation regarding the speed bump. This is something that's been discussed for years, and all of a sudden now we're told that it's a non-starter for reasons that are not being explained. So if your response is this isn't a question to answer period, which I understand is a comment period, then there probably needs to be some other avenue for the public to pose questions to the village government to get answers. So, you know, perhaps a listserv, respond to emails. Think about that, please, because simply saying, I'm sorry, you asked a question, you didn't make a comment, so we're not going further, isn't really a satisfactory response.
thank you. Anything else?
I'd like to say something.
You making a public comment?
Recently, we had two incidents where people were walking the dogs.
Louder, please. It's not on.
Recently, we had two incidents. Press the button. Recently, we had two incidents where people who walk the dogs, the dogs were not on a leash. It happened once where the dog attacked a man, and the man fell over on Breezy Hill down the big lip. Luckily, he got stuck by a tree. He ended up in the hospital. There was another lady who was walking on Main Street. She got attacked by a dog too. So I could bring it to attention. It's very important that when you walk your dogs, they should be on a leash and don't let it loose, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
The public sign you put up that makes that point is a good point.
Yes.
Gloria,
My dog was on something. But since we had two dogs, I wasn't just bringing it up. But when I'm walking my dog on Main Street, I've had a couple of people wanting to pull up in their car and start yelling at me about dog food. And I always clean up after my dog. And I'm going to report them because it's really very harassing. They pull up in their car.
Thank you for your comment. Janet?
I agree with the statements, and I wondered if there could be a public sign, even informal, put up, because it might not be people in this room who have a dog that they're walking off leash, or letting them just hang out at their house, and then they might break away from their house and run it or something. But I think that's a valid point, and I would request a sign. A public sign.
Thank you very, very much.
I'm going to close the public hearing.
Public comment period, and I'm going to move to the executive session. We'll have it back, and then we'll return to this meeting to approve vouchers. And you're welcome to stay, but I think we've completed all of the business. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Stay cool.
Thanks, everybody, for coming.